The scene begins with a lone figure seated in a wheelchair, fingers tapping gently on a tablet. A quiet grin plays on his lips as he watches a live broadcast, anticipation flickering in his eyes. Elsewhere, the arena is buzzing a storm of excitement and noise. The crowd roars, fans chant, and tension crackles in the air as racers prepare for the showdown. Amidst the chaos, the protagonist fastens his helmet. His expression is composed, focused not a trace of fear, only quiet confidence. Behind those eyes, moments flash. Friends who stood by him, trials at school, the struggles, the scars, the growth. Every memory now fuels the fire in his chest. The announcer lifts the signal gun. With one last breath, the protagonist steadies his hands on the handlebars, muscles coiled, breath steady. The gunshot cracks, and in that instant, he explodes from the line like lightning, a blur cutting through the wind. The scene begins with the protagonist stepping out quietly, heading to the library with calm intent. He unlocks his bicycle, folds the cuffs of his trousers, slides on his gloves, and gets on the bike without drawing attention. As he rides through campus, he passes groups of students walking and chatting. Two of them talk about stopping by the internet cafe, but one quickly changes his mind, pointing out they've got a test today. Their conversation is interrupted as the protagonist speeds past, leaving nothing but wind and confusion behind. They pause, unsure of what they just saw. One of them wonders aloud if that was even a student on a bike. The protagonist keeps moving forward. Up ahead, a construction barrier blocks the road. He lifts the front wheel and clears it effortlessly, continuing his ride without breaking rhythm. Further down, he passes a couple sitting on the stairs. The wind trails behind him as his tires skim the ground, the orange evening light casting a soft glow across his face. He rides with ease, fully focused, lost in the motion. Elsewhere, a group of students stand around a high-end bicycle, admiring its build. One is surprised it has a full carbon frame, while another doubts a student could own something like that. TJ Kim from Mountain High stands next to the bike, confident and proud. He says it's in a class of its own, and refuses when his friends ask to test it out. Minu, standing nearby, questions why TJ bought a new one when his last bike was already high quality. Their conversation is cut short when someone spots a rider at the top of the hill. All heads turn. The protagonist stands alone at the edge of the slope, preparing to descend. The group falls quiet, tension setting in. Some begin to question what they're seeing. A few think he might go through with it. Others worry he could get seriously hurt. Some aren't even sure if he knows what he's doing. The protagonist simply pulls up his hoodie, eyes locked on the road ahead. Then, without hesitation, he starts pedaling. As he picks up speed, echoes of past conversations fill his mind. He remembers his parents stressing the importance of grades, insisting he must be perfect, capable, and well-educated. He thinks back to their concern when his results dropped, the quiet pressure to meet expectations. He also recalls the whispers at school, remarks about how he had no friends. All he ever did was study, that he was just a machine built to perform. Those words loop in his thoughts as he barrels down the hill. The wind howls around him, but his focus sharpens. He doesn't touch the brakes. He leans into the slope, controlling the descent with precision. At the bottom, he drifts into a clean stop. The tires let out a sharp screech, and then everything goes still. The crowd is stunned. No one speaks at first. It takes a moment before someone quietly admits that what he just did shouldn't have been possible. TJ brushes it off, saying it was just a flashy stunt done on a cheap bike. But Minu, clearly impressed, acknowledges that the drift was well executed. June narrows his eyes, recognizing the rider. He's almost certain that's the student council president from Sunny High. Minu doesn't care about school rankings or titles. Still, he admits that if he runs into the guy again, he might say hi. The scene shifts to Sunny High School. The halls are alive with chatter and movement as students go about their day. Groups are gathered everywhere, discussing everything from video games to the latest episode of a show they watched the night before. Amidst the noise, Jay sits alone. His head is buried in a book, fully focused, unaware of anything else around him. A few tables away, Mia finds her eyes drawn to him, the student council president, known for his strict focus and quiet presence. Yuna suddenly throws an arm around Mia's shoulder, breaking her concentration. She teases her, asking if she's thinking about the upcoming exams and whether the pressure from student council duties is finally catching up. Mia gives a vague response, saying she's studying when she can, but Yuna pushes further, reminding her not to slack off, or she might mess up the exams. Yuna then makes a casual comment about Jay, wondering if he treats Mia well. Mia confirms that he does, but Yuna seems skeptical. She mentions how Jay always seems serious and distant, like he doesn't have time for anything outside of studying. According to her, he doesn't talk to people, doesn't seem to have hobbies, and acts like school is all that matters. She figures it must be tiring working with someone like that. Mia quietly disagrees. She explains that Jay isn't cold, he just struggles to express himself. Beneath the serious front, she believes he's responsible and genuinely kind. Before Yuna can ask more, a noise breaks out in the hallway. A student yells out that Minu is in their classroom. Girls rush over immediately, laughing and asking why he came and if it's to see them. Yuna, clearly annoyed, comments out loud about Minu showing up without warning. Minu hears her and fires back without hesitation, calling her granny and telling her he didn't come to see her, so she might as well vanish. Yuna looks stunned for a moment, but quickly snaps back. Minu then tells her to stop getting on his nerves nerves so early in the day. Yuna begins shouting again, asking who even invited him here, while Mia tries to calm her down, reminding her that it's not a great look to pick a fight with her own brother. Nearby, Dom Kang watches the scene unfold with quiet amusement. His gaze lingers on Mia, thinking to himself that she looks even cuter when she's annoyed. Ignoring the noise, Minu walks right past his sister and heads for Jay's table. Jay doesn't acknowledge him at first, only glancing up briefly before going back to his book. Minu stands there silently until Jay finally tells him to speak up or leave. Without warning, Minu slaps a hand on the desk and asks a question. Does Jay like biking? If so, he invites him to join their riding crew. He mentions Jay's downhill run the day before, saying everyone on his team was shocked to learn the mystery rider was their school president. Minu offers Jay a spot in the Hummingbird crew, impressed by his natural skill. Jay doesn't respond right away, staying focused on his studies. Minu watches, unsure if Jay is even listening. From a distance, Yuna watches the exchange with confusion. Mia is also surprised she didn't expect the two of them to be having a conversation. Eventually, Jay speaks. He tells Minu to stop interrupting him. He's not interested, and if Minu is done, he should leave. Minu clicks his tongue in frustration, turns away, and sarcastically apologizes for disturbing Jay's all-important study time. As he walks off, he mutters about how irritating Jay can be. But despite his cold demeanor, Jay finds himself replaying Minu's words. His mind drifts to a memory from when he was 13. His uncle had gifted him a bike, not just any bike, but the one he used back in his competitive racing days. Jay remembers his uncle's words clearly. He said that while studying was important, so was taking time to enjoy the world outside. He told Jay that if he ever got good enough, they could take a biking trip together. The thought lingers as Jay slowly returns to his book. Later, after classes end, students begin heading home. Yuna stretches and sighs, saying it feels like her youth is slipping away in the routine of school. Mia walks beside her, encouraging her to push through just a little longer, reminding her that vacation is just around the corner. Yuna laughs tiredly. She says she once imagined teenage life would be romantic and full of unforgettable moments, but instead, it feels like a never-ending cycle of lectures and late-night study sessions. Mia tries to be positive, saying the good memories will come eventually, but Yuna admits she wants to enjoy life now, not wait for later. Mia tells her to just hang on. They're almost there. As they walk, they don't notice someone running up behind them. Dom Kang suddenly jumps out, inviting them to his place to watch a zombie movie since his parents aren't home. The sudden move backfires. Both girls shriek in shock, and Yuna instinctively punches him in the stomach. Dom doubles over, gasping. Mia scolds him, telling him to stop sneaking around like that. Even through the pain, Dom thinks to himself that Mia is definitely the one. He follows after them, still trying to convince them to come over and see the movie on his massive 90-inch TV. Mia firmly turns him down, saying she has tutoring and no time to waste. Back at school, Jay quietly packs his things, preparing to leave. Before he can go, Minu appears again this time, making sure Jay isn't reading when he speaks. He tells Jay to give biking a real shot, and if he still isn't interested, that's fine. But tonight, there's a match at Green Park, and someone's waiting to face him. Jay immediately refuses, telling Minu to stop bothering him and go hang out with his friends. Minu shrugs, then mentions the name of the challenger, TJ, the same guy who insulted Jay's bike the day before, calling it junk. Minu says he doesn't care whether Jay shows up or not, but what he really can't stand are people who think performance only comes from expensive equipment. From what he's seen, Jay has been riding that bike for a long time. He'd like to see TJ's face if Jay ends up proving him wrong. Before walking away, he repeats the location, Green Park, tonight, the choice he leaves behind. Later that night at Green Park, the atmosphere is vibrant. A few kids show off bike tricks beneath the streetlights, their tires spinning and skidding over the smooth pavement. Nearby, Minu sits quietly on a bench. He has his headphones in, eyes half closed, nodding slightly to the rhythm of his music, waiting calmly. Suddenly, a chill can touch his cheek, catching him off guard and making him jolt. The unexpected cold sends a quick shiver down his spine. June stands beside him, casually laughing as he offers the drink and takes a seat next to him. June then asks if Minu is certain Jay will show up tonight. Minu shrugs, explaining there's no way to be sure, they'll just have to wait. June agrees, mentioning that if Jay doesn't come, they'll go ahead with a practice round instead. The two sit in silence for a moment before June brings up something else. He's curious about why Minu has taken such an interest in Jay recently. Minu quickly hushes him, concerned others might misinterpret what they hear. He says there's no deeper reason. He simply wants to ride with Jay. There's something about Jay's riding that stands out. The way he handles a bike makes it seem like he's been doing it for years. It just feels natural. And honestly, it might be more enjoyable if Jay joined their team. The quiet is broken as TJ and his group roll into the park. Their bikes shine under the artificial light. TJ walks ahead with a confident grin, looking around as he asks where the top student from Minu's school is. He scans the area, scoffs, and notes that Jay is late. He then wonders if Jay got cold feet and decided not to come. Minu stays calm and tells him to be patient. TJ, keeping up his attitude, says they might as well start warming up. He also throws in a jab at Minu's old leg injury, suggesting it might still be affecting his ability to ride, and casually brings up that he's been waiting for a rematch. Before Minu can respond, the attention shifts toward the park entrance as Jay rides in. A wave of whispers spreads through the small crowd. Some recognize him from the downhill stunt the previous day. Minu stands up from the bench with a faint smirk. He mentions that he had planned to race TJ himself, but will save that for another day. TJ steps forward and raises a hand, acting casual as he says he didn't expect Jay actually to show. But Jay rides right past him without acknowledgement, completely ignoring the gesture. The move clearly frustrates TJ, who clenches his jaw in silence. Jay approaches Minu directly. Minu greets him and says he's glad he came. Jay keeps it short, saying they should just get this over with. He has other things to take care of. Minu nods and signals June to go over the race details. June introduces himself as a senior from Jay's school. Hearing this, Jay nods respectfully. Minu notices the difference in how Jay responds and quietly mutters his frustration about the cold attitude directed at him. June outlines the format of the race. It's a one-on-one sprint along a mapped path through the park. The first rider to return to the starting point wins. The course is simple, and Jay should already be familiar with it. Crew members will be positioned at key turns to help guide the route and keep things organized. With the rules clear, Minu points to TJ, letting Jay know he'll be racing against him. Jay responds flatly, saying this will be the last time Minu tries to drag him into anything like this. Minu nods, accepting the terms. June hands Jay a helmet, reminding him to prioritize safety. As Jay makes his final preparations, Minu notices something unusual. The brakes are missing from Jay's bike. It looks like he's removed them to make it lighter and faster. It's a risky decision, but in a short sprint, even a slight weight reduction could give him an advantage. Both riders take their positions and mount their bikes. TJ glances over with a smug expression and throws out a comment about the quality of Jay's bike, questioning whether it can keep up. Minu tells TJ to stop bragging and focus, but TJ dismisses the warning and tells him to stay out of it. June steps in behind them, attaching a small camera to his helmet, stating that he'll be recording the race from behind for full coverage. A crew member steps forward and holds up a gear cog for the starting signal. Jay and TJ tighten their grip on the handlebars, eyes fixed straight ahead. The cog drops with a metallic clang. In the very next second, both riders shoot forward, their bikes slicing through the night air as the high-stakes race begins under the city lights. June rides just behind the two racers, his camera rolling as he follows the early moments of the match. TJ holds the lead at first, his lightweight carbon frame bike giving him an advantage off the line. But June knows the real test begins when both riders start accelerating at full capacity. A fast start means little if you can't hold control at top speed. Determined to keep them in frame, June pedals harder, narrowing the gap as the race intensifies. Ahead of him, TJ takes a glance over his shoulder. He sees Jay close behind and throws a mocking look back, clearly taunting him. Despite riding an older bike, Jay shows no reaction. Instead, he shifts gears and picks up the pace. The distance between them closes rapidly, catching TJ off guard. He glances forward and spots a traffic cone lying near the side of the road. Without hesitation, he swerves just enough to knock it into Jay's path. The cone bounces forward, threatening to trip him up. From behind, June catches the move and narrows his eyes, instantly suspicious of the intention. Jay reacts immediately, tilting his bike with expert timing to avoid the obstacle. He recovers his balance with ease, but before he can recenter, June's voice calls out from behind a warning to look ahead. Jay lifts his eyes and spots a parked car near the corner of the path, closing in fast. Without slowing down, he lifts his front wheel and launches the bike up. He lands cleanly on the hood, rides over the roof, and drops back onto the road without missing a beat. June and TJ both stare ahead in stunned silence. Jay quickly returns to rhythm, picking up speed again like nothing happened. June exhales, relieved. What just happened could have easily gone wrong, but Jay handled it with complete control. He shouts at TJ, telling him to quit the cheap tactics. TJ casually shrugs, claiming his foot slipped, though it's clear from his expression that the stunt didn't go as planned. He hadn't expected Jay to recover so smoothly or at all. June continues to observe from behind, still uneasy about how dangerous that moment had been. At the same time, he can't help but be impressed. Jay's reflexes were exceptional. The way he handled that stunt made it look instinctive, as if the bike was an extension of himself. Jay presses forward, building speed again. The air around him grows tighter as he cuts through it, and before long, he's once again right behind TJ. TJ hears the gears shift behind him and glances back, just in time to see Jay gaining ground. Jay stays silent, focused, pushing harder with every pedal. Up ahead, the road curves into a sharp corner. TJ notices it too, and assumes Jay will have to slow down. He watches closely, convinced that anyone who speeds into a turn like that is asking for trouble. But Jay doesn't slow down. Instead, he increases his pace. He leans into the corner and drifts with perfect control. The tires hiss across the pavement, scraping lightly as the bike slides cleanly through the bend and exits the turn without losing momentum. TJ is left behind, stunned at the precision. Even June, still riding behind, forgets to pedal for a moment as he watches the drift. He's at a loss for how someone could ride with such fluid control. Jay moves like the bike is part of his body, not just something he's riding. TJ grits his teeth trying to catch up, He pushes harder, but no matter how much effort he puts in, the gap isn't closing. His expensive bike can't make up for the difference in technique. Jay, now ahead, turns his head slightly and casually signals back toward TJ, a quiet reversal of the earlier taunt. Now it's TJ's turn to be the one behind. Frustrated, TJ pushes down harder on the pedals, refusing to be left behind without a fight. As the race enters its next phase, Jay looks back and makes a casual gesture toward his opponent. He seems unfazed, even remarking that he plans to finish the race in 4 minutes, but he still has studying to do. Behind him, TJ grows visibly more agitated. His frustration builds as he pushes harder on the pedals, quietly muttering about how much he can't stand students from Sunny High. Fueled by pride and anger, he focuses all his energy on overtaking Jay. June trails just behind, keeping the camera steady, though his concern begins to grow. The speed both riders are reaching now is dangerous, and he's starting to worry that someone could end up seriously hurt. TJ makes several attempts to pass Jay, but every move is countered with near-perfect precision. Jay stays ahead, not giving up a single opening. Frustrated and desperate, TJ sets his mind on taking the lead during the downhill section. As the terrain begins to slope, both riders increase their speed, tires screaming against the pavement. From behind, June yells for them to slow down. He sees the fence at the bottom of the hill and warns them to watch their pace, but neither rider listens. Jay maintains his momentum. Nearing the bottom of the slope, he suddenly shifts his weight and skids sharply, planting one foot against the fence and launching himself in the opposite direction. The move is clean and calculated. He changes direction without losing speed. TJ tries to do the same, but at the pace he's going, the timing is off. He hits the brakes too late and slams into the fence with full force, his bike flipping sideways as he's thrown off. June rushes down immediately, calling out an alarm as he hurries to check on him. Jay, now at a distance, slows his bike and glances back briefly before continuing on without pause. Blood drips from TJ's cheek, but the injury doesn't seem to bother him as much as the loss. His expression burns with anger as he sits up. June helps him, his face filled with concern. Back at the park, Minu passes the time with a bike racing video game, waiting for the outcome. One of the crew suddenly spots movement and calls out that someone's approaching. All heads turn toward the road, and it's Jay who returns first. The crew reacts with disbelief. Whispers spread among them as they process what they're seeing. Some struggle to accept that TJ didn't win. Minu smiles to himself, satisfied. He remarks that TJ was all talk and says it's about time someone gave him a reality check. He adds that races are won by riders, not bikes. Jay pulls up to the gathering, calm and steady. Crew members rush over to June, eager to see the race footage. Jay removes his helmet and tosses it to Minu, casually reminding him of the promise made before the race. He pulls up his hoodie and tells Minu not to involve him in things like this again while at school. Without waiting for a response, he turns and rides off into the night. As he disappears down the road, the others watch in silence, visibly impressed. Some quietly admire how composed he looked, riding off like it was just another day. Moments later, June appears at the edge of the park, supporting TJ as they return. TJ leans heavily against him, clearly in pain. Minu's relaxed expression vanishes. He rushes over in a panic and asks what happened. June brushes him off and immediately asks for the first aid kit. The crew gathers around them, murmuring questions. Some suggest taking TJ to a hospital, unsure how bad the injury really is. But TJ, face bruised and bloodied, pushes through the concern. Gritting his teeth, he demands that someone go find Jay and bring him back. Jay returns home shortly after nightfall, carrying his bike over one shoulder. He steps inside and quietly announces his arrival. In the living room, his younger brother Kay is sprawled across the couch, casually watching TV. Without turning, Kay mentions that their mom is working the night shift again. He then glances at Jay with a knowing look, asking where he's been, and assuming it involved that bike again. Jay doesn't respond. Kay crosses his arms and begins lecturing, saying that if Jay really wants to get into a top university, he should focus less on cycling and more on his studies. He tells him it's time to act his age and start behaving more responsibly. But the conversation abruptly shifts when the TV flashes a bright teaser for the next episode of Kitty Time. Jay's eyes light up instantly. Without hesitation, he dashes toward the living room, completely forgetting the discussion. Just before reaching the couch, he accidentally hits his toe on the doorframe and falls to the floor, groaning in pain as he rolls around. Still wincing, he looks up and sees the show starting. Despite the pain, a wide smile spreads across his face. He settles in quietly to watch as Kay keeps the remote. Later that night, Jay steps into the bathroom, strips down for a shower, and stands under the warm stream of water. His mind replays the previous night's race, the turns, the speed, the tension. Every moment comes back with sharp clarity. As the water flows over his shoulders, he realizes something is different. A strange yet thrilling feeling lingers within him. Something new, something alive. The next morning, Jay gets ready for school. He steps outside with his bike and inspects the tires. One of them shows signs of wear from the intense ride, slightly warped from the impact and the heavy drift. Kay appears behind him, adjusting his glasses. He asks if Jay is really planning to ride that damaged bike to school. Jay gives a silent nod and climbs on. Kay frowns, calling him a bike freak under his breath. As Jay stretches his legs and prepares to ride, Kay scoffs again, saying he's wasting energy this early and should save that effort for studying instead. Jay gives a subtle nod and pushes off, cycling smoothly down the street. Kay watches his brother disappear around the corner, shaking his head and wondering when Jay will finally grow up. Just then, something catches his attention. A kitten runs by, carrying a scrap of food in its mouth. Kay's mood shifts immediately. His eyes light up with curiosity, and without hesitation, he runs after it, completely forgetting everything else. Elsewhere in the city, students are crowding into buses at packed stops. Mia makes it onto her bus just in time, and breathes a quiet sigh of relief as she finds an empty seat. The bus begins to move, but within minutes, traffic starts to slow and eventually comes to a standstill. Frustrated murmurs spread among the passengers. One man nearby complains loudly about the traffic and says he might need a scooter just to survive the daily commute. Mia doesn't pay attention to the noise. Her gaze drifts to the window, and there, outside, she spots Jay riding calmly past the long line of cars. His movement is fluid, unbothered, as if he was made for the road. He pedals through the jam with ease. A few other passengers on the bus notice too. Some whisper in surprise, impressed by how fast he's moving. One even mutters that riding a bike might be the better option after all. Not far from the bus, Dom is stuck in traffic inside his father's car. He's slouched in the passenger seat, visibly bored and irritated. His dad jokes that they should just push through the cars ahead to get moving, but Dom advises him to be patient and follow the rules. As Dom stares out the window, he spots Jay riding past on his bike. His eyes widen. He sits upright, points at the cyclist, and says with excitement that he wants a bike too. On his way to school, Jay rides steadily through the streets when he unexpectedly finds himself alongside the school principal, who greets him in a friendly tone and asks how things have been lately. Jay responds politely, and the principal comments that he looks full of energy this morning. Curious, Jay asks if the principal always rides his bike to school. The principal nods and says that, ideally, every man should ride to work, if possible. He then offers some advice reminding Jay to stay cautious. Cyclists like them, he says, are barely respected on the road or sidewalk, and even bike lanes aren't safe these days. With a light chuckle, the principal ends the conversation, saying that both the principal and a student president shouldn't risk being late. As they ride toward the school gates, the scene shifts to Sunny High's front entrance, where a few students are being held back by security for uniform violations. Others pass by without issue, offering casual greetings to staff. Just then, a student named Lee skates confidently past the security guard, flashing a peace sign. The guard stops him immediately and comments on his hair, sarcastically suggesting it looks like someone poured orange juice on it. He also asks about Lee's school bag. Lee casually responds that he left it behind. He doesn't plan on studying anyway. The guard's frustration builds, but before things escalate, the principal arrives and asks what all the noise is about. The guard quickly straightens up and explains that he's simply enforcing the dress code. The principal shakes his head, saying this isn't the best way to start a school day. He tells the students to head to class and stop damaging the school's reputation, but the students respond with enthusiasm, saying they'll make the school look cool instead. They take off running, laughing loudly. As Lee walks by a group of girls, he immediately becomes captivated. With exaggerated charm, he greets them and invites them to lunch. They laugh and tell him he's cute, happily inviting him to join them at the cafeteria. The guard sighs and mutters that Lee is up to his antics again, but the principal smiles and simply says the boy is enjoying his youth. As they chat, the guard reminds the principal about the morning assembly, but the principal casually responds that he'll just send a message to the entire school instead, leaving the guard speechless. Inside one of the classrooms, students pass the time chatting and joking before the bell rings. Some are already tired, heads down on desks. Suddenly, every student's phone buzzes with a message, a digital announcement from the principal, filled with flair and humor. Yuna laughs and says the principal definitely has style. She turns to Mia and asks what she's doing, but Mia is lost in thought, daydreaming about a romantic moment with Jay. Yuna picks up on it and teases her, wondering if she's falling for him. Before Mia can respond, Dom bursts into the classroom with his usual energy. He calls out to Yuna, but she immediately throws a book at him, calling him names. Dom grins to himself, misinterpreting it as affection. Meanwhile, in the hallway, Jay walks past Minu, who's surrounded by a group of girls. Minu greets Jay and casually congratulates him on beating TJ the day before. One of the girls asks Minu how he knows the student council president, and he shrugs, saying they just happen to know each other. Back in the classroom, lessons begin. Some students try to pay attention, but many are already drifting off. Dom is among them, completely asleep with drool covering his notebook. When the clock hits 12:30 p.m., students immediately race out for lunch. Dom tries to sit with Yuna, but ends up getting punched in the arm. After the break, classes resume, and Dom goes right back to sleep. Mia continues to glance at Jay during class, but quickly looks away in embarrassment whenever he catches her. As the day ends, students begin talking about watching another episode of Breaking Bad that night. Dom walks along the sidewalk, wondering if he learned anything at all that day. He notices Jay walking his bike and calls out, asking to try it for a second. Jay ignores the request and rides off silently. Dom, frustrated, flips him off and yells at him for being arrogant. But the moment he hears Yuna's voice, his mood shifts instantly. He walks beside her casually and throws out one of his usual strange compliments, calling her the Wi-Fi signal of his life and saying she looks shiny today. Yuna glares and tells him the only shiny thing is the drool still stuck to his face. Dom responds proudly, saying that's his secret to looking good, which earns him a hard kick from Yuna, who tells him to be quiet. Meanwhile, as Jay pedals home, something feels off. He slows down and checks his bike. The rear tire is flat. He figures it's from the previous day's intense ride. Just then, TJ appears nearby. With a smug look, he offers to fix the piece of junk for him. After school, Dom walks home with a bounce in his step, reflecting on what he sees as a successful day. In his mind, Yuna's punches and insults count as affection, and he dramatically wonders if all relationships are this hard on both the heart and body. Realizing he slept through most of class, he decides it's time to head to his part-time job. But as he strolls through a quiet street, his mood shifts. Up ahead, something catches his eye. A group of delinquents has cornered Jay. Dom's expression tightens, the playful energy gone. TJ stands at the front, sneering. He makes a sarcastic comment about whether Jay got a good rest after making him lose sleep over the forehead injury. Jay, unfazed, simply responds by asking who they even are. The answer angers TJ. In frustration, he kicks over Jay's bike and accuses him of acting superior. He says Jay humiliated him in front of his crew and now acts like he doesn't even remember it. Jay, visibly frustrated, throws a punch, but it lands weakly. It barely makes contact, which only adds to TJ's rage. His friends look on, surprised that the student council president would try to fight back like that. The group begins to beat Jay down. They mock him, break his glasses, and throw punches and kicks until he collapses. Bruised and on the ground, Jay listens as TJ leans in and mocks him, telling him to take a good look at the state of his own face. He questions how Jay will even show up at school like this. Jay, through gritted teeth, tells TJ that he doesn't even know who he is or what his issue is, and that he should just leave him alone. But TJ grabs Jay by the shirt and threatens to make him remember exactly who he is, starting with a few more hits. Before it escalates any further, Dom steps forward. The usual goofiness is gone, replaced by a calm and confident tone. TJ turns to him and asks who he thinks he is. Dom shrugs and casually notes that 3-on-1 doesn't exactly make them look tough. He says he was getting bored anyway and might as well step in to even things out. One of TJ's friends whispers something to him, a quiet warning not to mess with Dom. It's enough to rattle TJ. Whatever reputation Dom carries, it spooks him. TJ clicks his tongue and backs off, saying he's not in the mood to waste time on losers. Before leaving, he tells Jay to thank his strange friend for saving him, then signals the others to follow. They leave without another word. Dom watches them go, convinced his presence alone scared them off. He walks over to Jay and offers a hand to help him up, but Jay pushes it aside and insists that he's fine. He tells Dom not to worry about him. Dom frowns, annoyed that people keep brushing him off like he doesn't matter. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Minu is walking with two girls, laughing and chatting. As TJ passes by, he throws a bitter remark about spoiled rich kids from Sunny High. He insults the girls too, saying they must be clueless for hanging out with someone like Minu. One of the girls raises an eyebrow, confused by the hostility. Minu catches a glimpse of Jay up ahead, his face bloodied and bruised. Without hesitation, he tells the girls to go on ahead, saying something just came up. They walk off, visibly puzzled. Back with Jay and Dom looks down at Jay's broken bike and asks if he's even able to walk home in that condition. Just then, Minu arrives and reacts with shock at Jay's appearance. He asks if Jay got into a fight. Dom explains it casually, just a bunch of punks from Mountain High causing trouble. He adds that he stepped in. Minu assumes TJ was behind it again, still bitter about losing the race. Jay, clearly irritated, asks if they enjoyed watching the whole thing unfold. He tells them both to leave him alone. Minu apologizes, saying that wasn't his intention, but Jay cuts him off and warns him never to bring up the bike crew again. Minu, still concerned, suggests at least getting him to a pharmacy, but Jay snaps again, telling them both to leave him alone. Frustrated, Minu asks what's wrong with him. They're just trying to help. He says the least they can do is make sure Jay gets home safely. Jay repeats that he wants them out of his life. Dom watches the back and forth, thinking Jay is being too stubborn. Without warning, he lightly smacks Jay on the back and says it wasn't even that hard. Minu stares at him in disbelief, asking if Dom has lost his mind, hitting someone who's already hurt. Dom shrugs and says they were talking too much. He just wanted them to stop for a second. After school, Dom supports Jay by lifting him onto his feet and says he'll walk him home. He tells Minu to carry the bike. Minu asks where they're actually headed, and Dom casually admits he has no idea. He doesn't even know where Jay lives. Minu questions Dom's logic, wondering what was going through his head when he hit someone who was already injured. With no clear answer, they both agree to take Jae to a nearby pharmacy first. Minwoo buys some supplies to treat the injuries and quietly wonders what they're supposed to do with Jae afterwards. At the same time, Jae's younger brother Kay is walking home, thinking about heading out again for tutoring. While walking, he notices someone collapsed on the sidewalk. He assumes it's just another troublemaker from Sunny High, but as he approaches, he realizes with horror that it's actually his brother, bruised and unconscious. Kay shouts Jae's name in panic, which catches Dom and Minwoo's attention. Dom calls out and asks if the person he's referring to is the one lying in front of them. Minwoo begins to piece it together. Kay, clearly panicked, hesitates. Instead of running to his brother's side, he decides to act cool, walking past casually and pretending not to know him, even whistling to sell the act. Dom calls after him, asking if they're related. Kay quickly denies it and picks up his pace. Minwoo watches and comments on how familiar Kay's voice and attitude are, wondering if being annoying just runs in their family. Dom and Minwoo chase after him. When they finally catch up, they confront Kay about walking away from his injured brother. Kay insists it was just self-preservation. Dom sighs and says the selfishness must be genetic. Minwoo agrees. Kay mutters something about Jae choosing the wrong crowd and ending up in fights with people like them. Eventually, they all arrive at Jae's house. Inside, Dom tends to Jae's injuries, carefully applying antiseptic and bandages. He says that from here, it's up to the patient. Minwoo compliments the job, and Kay, still confused, asks who these two strangers are and why one of them has a bandage under his nose. Dom tries to act mysterious, calling it a secret. Minwoo immediately rips the bandage off and dismisses it as nonsense, only to pause in shock at what he sees underneath. He warns that the principal won't be pleased if he finds out. When asked who else lives in the house, Kay explains that their parents are barely around. Minwoo nods, saying he can relate. He glances around Jae's room. It's filled with textbooks, notes, and lecture materials. Minwoo mutters that this is possibly the most boring life he's ever seen. Kay doesn't let his guard down. He eyes the two visitors suspiciously, saying he's still not convinced they aren't trying to rob the place under the guise of friendship. He says it's hard to believe Jae has friends at all. Minwoo feels the resemblance between Jae and Kay is so strong, it makes him want to throw a punch. Dom, meanwhile, notices a framed photograph and points out the bike in the image. He asks if that's Jae's. Minwoo joins in, wondering who the kid next to the bike is. He assumes it's Jae's younger brother, but Kay corrects them. The kid in the picture is Jae himself. Both Minwoo and Dom are surprised. Minwoo now wonders how long Jae has been riding and what made him show up so suddenly the day before. Dom watches Minwoo quietly and begins hallucinating Yuna's face onto him, blaming it on loneliness. He still hasn't realized that Minwoo and Yuna are siblings. Minwoo, meanwhile, stares at the man beside Jae in the photo and feels an odd sense of familiarity. But before he can think too deeply, Jae suddenly wakes up. He sees the others handling his photo frame and quickly snatches it from their hands, demanding they stay away from his things and leave his house. Minwoo shows the bruises on his face as proof that they brought him back home. Dom shrugs and says it's normal for classmates to help each other out. Frustrated, Jae rips off the bandages, making Dom groan about the wasted effort. Jae insists again that they leave. Dom places a hand on his shoulder and sarcastically asks if that's really how he plans to thank them. To annoy him further, they decide to check his computer. They joke about finding out what kind of girls Jae is into. Jae protests and tells them to stay away from it, but the warning only fuels their curiosity. They open the computer only to find rows of academic videos and lecture recordings. The room goes silent. Dom stares at the screen in disbelief and wonders how Jae hasn't passed out from boredom watching that stuff. Minwoo confirms it. Jae's a full-blown study addict. Pulling out his phone, he decides it's time to wrap things up. He texts the crew and calls for an emergency meeting at the park, making it clear that TJ and the Mountain High boys must show up no matter what. The group gradually gathers at the park, murmuring among themselves, uncertain why they were summoned so urgently. Confused glances pass between crew members as they speculate on what this emergency meeting could be about. TJ arrives shortly after and immediately mocks the tension, telling anyone with complaints to take it up with Minwoo directly, instead of whispering behind his back. When someone asks if something happened between them, TJ casually denies any knowledge. He acts unfazed. June, sensing the tension, points out that there must be a reason for such a sudden meeting. TJ dismisses it, mocking June for always siding with his friend from Sunny High. Soon, Minwoo walks into the park, and everyone instantly notices the serious look on his face. The tone shifts. TJ, still smiling, throws another jab, calling him a spoiled rich kid for showing up late. Without responding, Minwoo takes off his ring and heads straight toward TJ. Without hesitation, he throws a clean punch to TJ's face. The hit connects hard. Shock spreads through the group. Some of TJ's friends yell out, asking if Minwoo has lost his mind. June also demands to know what's going on. Minwoo finally speaks. He tells TJ to stop dragging the crew's name through the dirt and suggests that TJ should leave the group altogether. The others are stunned, unable to believe what they're hearing. It seems Minwoo is trying to remove not just TJ, but also the Mountain High crew. TJ acts confused and plays it off, asking if Minwoo is referring to the student president from Sunny High. He claims Jae hit him first, just like Minu did now, and argues that if anyone should be leaving the crew, it's Minu himself. Jun watches as the situation begins to unravel. Tensions rise. TJ turns to the rest of the group and points out that Minu doesn't exactly have their support anymore. He encourages them to speak up if they disagree with what's happening. Someone in the group, hesitant but honest, says they didn't appreciate being summoned without warning. Another brings up the fact that Jae isn't even part of the crew, and that maybe he was the one who started the fight. More voices join in, arguing that it's unfair for Minu to try and kick someone out without hearing everyone's opinion. The group accuses Minu of calling this meeting just to formally push TJ out. Sensing the momentum shifting, TJ regains his confidence. He tells Minu the tide is turning and challenges what he'll do now, especially since he hasn't even been riding because of his leg injury. Another voice mocks Minu, saying all he does is flirt and flaunt his wealth. They suggest he should just form his own club at school with all that money. Jun steps in, raising his voice to shut down the noise. He tells everyone to think carefully before throwing out accusations and nonsense. Minu doesn't argue. He responds calmly. They'll settle it with a race. Winner stays, loser leaves. TJ laughs at the idea, asking if Minu can even ride properly with his injury. But Minu responds confidently that he can beat him even with one leg. TJ raises the stakes. He proposes a 3 versus 3 match. Minu doesn't hesitate and agrees, but says he'll take on all 3 alone. Jun steps in, concerned. He insists on joining, pointing out that Minu can't do this by himself in his current condition. Minu hesitates for a moment, but Jun doesn't back down. TJ smirks and calls it a face-off. Sunny High versus Mountain High. He asks for a third rider from Sunny High, but no one steps forward. The crowd stays silent, unwilling to get involved. Jun tells Minu they'll go with just the 2 of them. 2 against 3. TJ accepts. The challenge is set. Meanwhile, the scene shifts into a surreal dream sequence. A dragon appears before a boy and offers to grant a wish. Without hesitation, the boy asks for a perfect body, something straight out of a Chris Hemsworth movie poster. The dragon hands him a magical mushroom. He eats it. Almost instantly, his body begins to shift. He grows taller, more defined, with every feature perfectly aligned. Confidence radiates from his posture as he walks like a fashion model straight off a runway. A group of girls quickly surrounds him, clearly captivated by his transformation. They giggle and ask for his number, but he playfully tells them that each digit will cost them a heartbeat. The dream abruptly ends with a splash. A milk packet drops on his desk, pulling him back to reality. A girl stands beside him, asking what he had been dreaming about. His smile fades as he mumbles something about being surrounded by girls pressing against him. Embarrassed, he still thanks her for the milk and drinks it, feeling somehow that it's making him stronger. Before he can settle into that feeling, a friend throws an arm around him and invites him to lunch, accidentally making him spill the milk. He reacts in frustration, calling it a waste of something delicious. His friend, always a prankster, then jokingly starts kissing his cheek, much to the surprise of the same girl nearby, who catches it on camera. From her perspective, it looks like a romantic moment unfolding between the two. Just behind them, Jun quietly asks Minu what the plan is moving forward. Minu keeps it simple: win the race, remove TJ from the crew. Jun expresses concern, pointing out the disadvantage of going 2 against 3, especially with Minu still recovering from an injury. He suggests involving Jae again, arguing that Jae should share responsibility for how things escalated. But Minu shakes his head. He doesn't want Jae involved anymore. This isn't his problem. He reassures Jun that they'll handle it. Elsewhere, Jae is seated at his desk, calmly sketching in his notebook, when Mia steps in and places a Band-Aid kit down beside him. She blushes as she mentions it's for his cut. Jae, cold as ever, tells her he didn't ask for anything. Yuna slams her palm on the table and scolds him for being rude, reminding him that Mia noticed the cut this morning and even ran to the pharmacy for him. Mia tries to stop her, clearly embarrassed by the attention. Dom walks in with his usual energy, gives Jae a friendly pat on the back, and casually asks if he slept well. Yuna turns her attention to Dom and demands to know how he and Jae even know each other. Dom answers without hesitation, saying they bonded over a shared computer experience. Mia, hearing that, raises an eyebrow, unsure what kind of bonding he's referring to. The moment is cut short when another student shows up to inform Jae that a senior is asking for him. Jae gets up. Dom jokes that Jae is becoming more and more popular. Then, turning to Yuna, he asks if the 2 of them should bond as well, but she quickly shuts that down by flooring him without a second thought. Outside, Jun stands waiting for Jae. As a few girls walk past, they glance at him and whisper that he looks good, but probably isn't into girls. The comment stings. Jun quietly wonders why they always misunderstand him. When Jae finally arrives, Jun immediately notices the bruises on his face. It becomes clear now why Minu had hit TJ the night before. The 2 boys lock eyes. Jun isn't sure if Jae even remembers him. He starts explaining in detail, step by step, until recognition finally sparks in Jae's expression. Jun then asks for a favor. He explains that Minu acted impulsively after seeing Jae's injuries, and now refuses to involve him any further. But if they lose the race that night, Minu could be forced out of the crew. Jae listens, but responds with little interest, brushing off the whole situation as just another round of drama he doesn't care about. June takes a breath and admits that Jay is selfish, but still asks him to consider helping, just this once. Jay doesn't respond. He turns and walks away. A crowd slowly gathers at the park as anticipation fills the air. Everyone's talking, speculating on how the evening's race will unfold. The energy is high, and the tension is real. Minu gets himself ready, while June, helmet in hand, glances at his watch. It's already past 8. Jay still hasn't arrived. June sighs, thinking they might have no choice but to race without him. As both teams take their positions, the audience picks up on the growing intensity. June takes a moment to inspect TJ's bike and quickly notices some adjustments. Brakes repaired. A new front wheel installed. TJ, full of confidence, can't help but throw a jab at Minu, clearly looking to rattle him. But Minu stays focused, brushing off the remarks and keeping his attention on the upcoming race. The event coordinator steps forward and announces that the race will begin shortly. But before he can explain the rules, a sudden voice calls out for everyone to wait. A girl rolls in on a bike, removes her helmet, and reveals herself as Harry Lee, a well-known biking show commentator on YouTube. Her unexpected appearance catches everyone off guard. The boys react with nervous smiles, clearly a little starstruck. Harry says she came straight over after hearing about the event and asks if she can broadcast the race live. Minu welcomes the idea enthusiastically, while TJ sees it as an opportunity to embarrass Sunny High in front of a wider audience. Harry quickly gears up the headset in place, equipment checked, and the stream is ready to go. She confirms the broadcast is live and that her viewers can hear her clearly. The event coordinator returns to outline the race format. It's a relay-style competition similar to a track event, but instead of batons, racers will use LED armbands. These armbands snap onto the next rider's arm with just a bit of force. Team members are stationed around the track, and the team that completes all handoffs and returns to the starting point first will be declared the winner. To raise the stakes, the losing team will be removed from the crew entirely. He turns to Minu to ask if he's still willing to race, given that they're one rider short. But Minu confidently assures him it makes no difference whether it's 3 against 2 or 4 against 2. The outcome won't change. They're here to win. With the rules confirmed, the coordinator warns that no complaints will be entertained once the race begins. Everyone straps on their LED armbands and heads into position. Minu throws a playful jab at the coordinator, reminding him not to wipe out again on the downhill, while TJ smirks and wishes Minu luck, riding with a bad leg. Harry announces to her live audience that the race is about to kick off, promising to cover every exciting second. TJ locks in with full focus, determined to show Sunny High exactly what they're up against. Mountain High's first rider, Hyung-min, takes position. Minu quickly tells June to take the first leg since it's a curved segment of the track perfect for his road bike. Hyung-min, on the other hand, is riding a fixed gear, which will be a disadvantage through the bends. June looks concerned. He reminds Minu he's still not fully recovered, but Minu assures him this isn't just about his leg anymore. He's going to beat TJ and Mountain High regardless. June accepts the plan, but advises Minu not to push too hard and risk more damage. As the first riders line up, Harry finishes mounting her phone onto her helmet for hands-free streaming. The boy overseeing the event steps forward once again. He raises the metal cog in his hand. This will serve as the race's starting signal. Once it hits the ground, the relay begins. Everyone tenses. All eyes are on the course. The race is just one drop away from beginning. As soon as the cog hits the ground, the race explodes into motion. Mountain High's team bolts ahead, gaining an early lead. Harry Lee follows closely on her bike, narrating live for her stream that the racers are already hitting speeds of around 26 miles per hour, with Mountain High taking the front. Online viewers quickly chime in, impressed by Hyung-min's strong opening performance. Hyung-min feels the pressure, but remains confident, questioning internally if that's all June has to offer. Yet June stays tight on every turn, mirroring his lines with sharp precision. It catches Hyung-min off guard. He expected to create a gap by now. Determined to shake him off, he pushes harder, momentarily widening the distance. But June digs in, fighting to stay close. The tension rises with every pedal. Hyung-min starts to suspect the truth that June is slipstreaming. By staying tucked directly behind him, June is reducing wind resistance and conserving energy. Harry Lee, observing closely, explains the technique to her viewers, noting how rare it is to see such tactical riding at a high school level race. The chat erupts in debate over whether Hyung-min can keep the lead, but Hyung-min isn't planning to back down. If he can just clear the next hill first, he believes the race will still be theirs. June, however, sees an opening. Silently thanking Hyung-min for the windbreak, he shifts gears and accelerates. His legs burn with the effort, but his timing is perfect. As they begin the uphill stretch, Harry announces that Sunny High, identified by the red armband, has now overtaken Mountain High. The stream lights up with praise for June's clever strategy. Hyung-min is stunned. He can't understand how June is generating so much power on an incline. Meanwhile, the next set of riders prepares for their turn. Minu eyes the distance between them and announces that they're closing in. It's time for him to deliver. G1, the next racer for Mountain High, doubts Minu's confidence and asks how he can be so sure about who will arrive first. Minu simply replies with a challenge, whether G1 really believes Hyung-min can outrun June at this point. Back on the course, Jun crests the hill and spots Minu up ahead. He races toward him and passes the armband in a seamless handoff, giving a nod of encouragement before Minu launches forward with explosive speed. Harry Lee calls out the transition in real time, letting viewers know that Sunny High's second runner is now on the course and gaining ground fast. A boy watching from the sidelines shakes his head and comments that if Minu maintains this pace, there might be no reason to keep watching. Sunny High has the lead and the momentum. As the race enters its final stretch, Harry Lee continues streaming, tracking Minu's progress as he pushes harder on the pedals. His pace picks up noticeably, and live viewers begin commenting on his growing momentum. Some admit that Mountain High seems to be falling behind badly. Off the track, Jun takes a brief moment to rest and hydrate. He silently hopes Minu isn't pushing himself too far, especially with the injury that had kept him off the bike before. Just then, someone quietly approaches him, catching him by surprise. Minu, still riding, pushes himself through the burn, mentally blocking out the pain in his legs. He refuses to let this race slip away. Losing to TJ isn't an option, not when everything is on the line. Meanwhile, TJ stands further ahead, glancing around impatiently. He wonders what's taking his teammates so long to arrive. A few spectators call out that Sunny High is in the lead, suggesting he might be in trouble. TJ scoffs at them, annoyed that anyone is celebrating while the race is still underway. Then, Minu comes into view, flying past the crowd. Spectators cheer wildly, calling him a monster for the pace he's keeping. TJ grits his teeth, looking around again in frustration. He still doesn't see his teammate. Moments later, the next rider finally shows up, apologizing for the delay. At the same time, another student exits a restroom elsewhere, glances at the live stream, and smirks knowingly as he mutters Minu's name. Back on the course, Minu speeds ahead with everything he has left until something darts into his path. A small cat appears out of nowhere. Without thinking, Minu slams the brakes. The sudden jolt causes his injured leg to twist sharply, and he crashes to the ground hard. From behind, Harry Lee lets out a shocked gasp, broadcasting the fall to her viewers. The comment section floods with stunned reactions, many asking if Minu is okay after such an intense run. Jun stares in disbelief, frozen by the sight. Minu lies on the pavement, clutching his hand, clearly in pain. Harry quickly informs the stream that she's ending the broadcast due to the unexpected accident. The screen cuts out, and disappointment spreads among the viewers, some wondering if this is how Sunny High's race ends. Jun grabs his helmet, fastening the strap once again. He quietly scolds himself for not insisting harder that Minu shouldn't have raced with that leg. Meanwhile, TJ, still unaware of what happened, pedals forward with growing confidence. As he nears the crash site, he spots Harry and Minu at the roadside. A cruel grin spreads across his face. He mocks Minu for pushing too far, saying this was bound to happen. With the path clear and no immediate threat, TJ presses forward, convinced that victory is already his. Harry Lee kneels beside Minu, checking his condition. Before she can say anything, a voice cuts in. Jay has arrived. He looks down at Minu, asking what he's doing on the ground like that. Minu glares at him, telling him to quit staring and get lost. Without responding, Jay grabs the LED armband and secures it around his own arm. Elsewhere, back at his house, Jay has left a note for his younger brother, telling him to go ahead and eat dinner without waiting. Kay stares at the message, confused about what his brother could be up to. Back at the track, Jay explains that Jun already gave him the rundown on the course and how the race works. He adds that he didn't come for the competition. He's just here to settle a score with the ones who came after him earlier. Minu tosses him the helmet. Jay catches it midair but hesitates, complaining about the smell. Minu retorts that it smells fine now and tells him to quit whining and ride. As Harry Lee turns away, she catches a glimpse of Jay's bike and pauses, stunned that he's really about to race on something like that. Meanwhile, TJ continues riding ahead, confident that he's already secured the win. He mentally notes that this should be the last time Minu ever acts smug, especially now that his leg's out of commission. What TJ doesn't know is that Minu is silently smirking, knowing exactly what's about to happen. He wishes TJ good luck, because what's coming after him isn't just a rider, it's a storm. TJ glances behind him and freezes. Jay is already gaining on him, moving with unbelievable speed. Panic sets in. He wasn't warned that Jay would be part of this. Jay keeps up the pace, laser focused. He's not here for fun. He's here to finish what was started. TJ tries to stay ahead and thinks of the upcoming downhill section. He's convinced Jay won't survive the sharp U-turn that follows. That's where he plans to pull ahead and end the race. They hit the slope. TJ brakes hard, haunted by the memory of the time he lost control and crashed at the bottom. He expects Jay to slow down too, but instead, Jay passes him without hesitation. TJ stares in disbelief as Jay performs a daring maneuver, pivoting sharply using the front tire as an anchor to pull off a perfect 180-degree downhill drift. It's a move that no one in their right mind should even attempt at that speed. Jay skids to a stop ahead of TJ and plants himself directly in his path. TJ shouts at him to move, warning that this could end badly for both of them, but Jay doesn't budge. Left with no choice, TJ TJ slams his brakes, skidding to a near miss. TJ barely manages to stop in time, his front tire nudging against Jay's wheel. He stares at him, questioning if he's lost his mind. Jay responds calmly, pointing out that TJ had no issue kicking his bike before. TJ seems confused by the sudden challenge. Jay makes it clear they'll settle things right now. Not with words, but with speed. His so-called scrap metal bike versus TJ's carbon frame machine. No more excuses. TJ accepts the challenge, eager to prove himself. Jay proposes a straight-line sprint, no curves, no tricks. Just a pure test of power and precision. If TJ's expensive ride loses to what he calls junk, then the bike isn't the problem. He is. TJ glares at him, anger bubbling, and declares that they'll see who comes out on top. They line up, ready, the signal is given, and both launch forward. TJ gains an early lead, his lightweight build giving him the advantage. But Jay quickly adjusts, lowering his body to reduce drag, pushing the pedals with everything he has. He overtakes TJ with fluid ease. TJ's eyes widen. He can't believe what he's seeing. The lead slips away. Back at the park, Minu returns with June. People rush over, asking if he's all right. Minu apologizes, admitting his leg wasn't fully recovered. June sighs, reminding him he shouldn't have pushed himself this far. Harry Lee quietly comments that Minu's lucky it wasn't worse after that crash. Some of the Mountain High crew snicker, mocking the effort. They sarcastically thank Minu for handing them the win. Just then, someone wearing the Sunny High armband approaches from the shadows. Jay pedals into view, composed, but carrying the weight of everything that just happened. TJ, still stunned from the loss, watches him roll in. Spectators start whispering, recognizing him. The student council president Jay. Many didn't even know he was in the race. The Mountain High group quickly accuses Sunny High of cheating, demanding answers. Where did Jay come from? Was this allowed? Jay quietly unzips his jacket, steam rising from his body as he catches his breath. TJ clenches his fists, muttering in frustration. He still can't understand how his high-end gear lost to what he considered a scrap heap. Jay turns to him and states plainly, it was never about the bike. He's the one TJ should have been ready for. If you're going to race, Jay adds, learn how to ride first. TJ steps forward, demanding an explanation, but the referee intervenes. People begin questioning the validity of Jay's participation. He wasn't officially listed as one of the Sunny High racers. Should the results even count? The referee turns to Minu and asks if this was part of the plan. 3 racers against 2. And considering Minu's fall, wasn't Sunny High already disqualified? Minu listens in silence before replying. He says he doesn't need anyone else to explain what happened. Without hesitation, he removes his badge. There's no dramatic speech, just a simple statement. He's stepping down from the crew. Minu tells the group there's no reason to complain anymore. He's leaving, and it's up to them to take care of the crew now. The Mountain High group watches with smug expressions as he walks away. June puts a hand on his shoulder, saying he did his best. Minu apologizes for getting removed because of him, but June brushes it off. He says he only joined the crew because of Minu, and now that he's out, there's no point staying either. Jay calls out to Minu, referring to him casually and tossing his helmet back. Minu catches it and thanks him for riding together. Jay doesn't respond. He just pulls his hoodie over his head and starts walking off. Minu watches him go, thinking Jay hasn't changed, still as closed off as ever. From the sidelines, Harry Lee silently observes. A faint smile crosses her face as she realizes Jay must have inherited that bike. Meanwhile, Minu and June also begin heading out. June checks if Minu's okay. Minu admits the pain in his leg is bad, but jokes that June should focus on studying for his entrance exams now. June frowns at the suggestion. Elsewhere, the Mountain High crew celebrates the win, joking about grabbing burgers and drinks. They ask TJ if he's coming, but he stays silent. Despite the result, he doesn't feel like he truly earned the win. Suddenly, a voice calls out to TJ with a teasing nickname. He snaps, demanding to know who's trying to provoke him. His confidence fades the moment he recognizes the speaker, Vinny from Gun High School. Vinny grins and mocks him, asking if he plans to start a fight now. TJ asks what he's doing there. Vinny says there's no rule against him showing up, especially after watching the live stream of Minu racing. He laughs and calls Minu irrelevant now that he's out of the crew. Vinny taunts them, saying, with the cat gone, it's just the smaller players left.